Chastity, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. We've been trying to plan this, Scott, for quite some time.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a long time coming, but thank you for spending time on this Saturday and coming out. We really appreciate it. Got a few things to talk about. But Scott, our relationship goes back because we worked together in the fire department for as long as I've been on, 16 years. Yeah, it's
Wow.
it's gone by fast, dog.
It's a long time.
Yeah, it's gone by really fast. Now, we met in the fire service, but how did you meet Chastity?
So Chastity, in the path that I've taken in the fire service, I've kind of gravitated towards fire investigation. And I've done both private work along with the public work. Chastity has worked with me at a private company, and she was originally hired as an evidence tech, but she got an education that allowed her to do fire investigations. So she would come with me and she would process scenes with me, and she was very, very good at it. So we kind of became buddies through that. Mm-hmm. And then our department that we previously worked for, we got absorbed by another department, and we're so busy that I couldn't do private work anymore, but we've stayed in touch.
Okay.
So that's how Chastity and I mean, she's kind of part of our family now, my wife and her, and we get along. We include her in everything. So
I'm like an adopted daughter.
Yeah,
at this
she's
point.
our third child.
Oh, that's cool. And now, how did you get into fire investigation, Chastity? Because you're not a sworn-in firefighter, right?
Yeah, I'm not a public anything entity.
You're not missing out. Trust me. You're not
Yeah,
missing
people
out.
always ask me, what department are you with? It was actually an accident. So the school that I went to, can I plug my school? I want to do that.
You can plug school.
Eastern Kentucky University.
Yeah. Wait, Kentucky?
Eastern Kentucky University.
Dang, is that where you're from?
I'm from Kentucky.
Yo,
Yeah.
shout out to Kentucky. White people need. I'm just kidding.
So anyway, so I just went to that school because it was about 30 minutes north of where I'm from. We're told we need to go to college, so we go to college.
Yeah.
And I was 2 years in and had no idea what I was going to do. I'd claimed 2 different majors, and I took a placement test based off of the majors that were in my school, and fire and forensics were in my top 5.
Wow.
And so they put me in the fire program, and I fell in love with it, and then got a job offer in Southern California, and here I am.
When did you come out to California?
5 years ago, 2018.
Okay. You seem like you're losing your accent just a little bit. It's still there.
It's still there a little.
Okay, so Scott's wearing off on you?
I don't.
No,
He's like, well, shit.
no. Here,
Well,
Shit.
I say this every time. Ask her favorite drink.
What's your favorite drink?
Sprite.
There you go, dude. Sprite.
Sprite.
Every time we go to
Sprite.
dinner or we take her out to lunch, it's Sprite. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh, it's Sprite.
No, the waiters do. They're always like, excuse me.
Yeah, Sprite.
What did you say?
Sprite.
so how long did when you were from school, when you pursued the fire side of the investigation, like what was that like getting into that field? Did you go volunteer somewhere, or was it kind of just because I don't know the private side of investigations too much. So how was that process?
So I got dragged into it. The first company that I worked for actually came to our school to recruit us out of our senior year.
Oh, wow.
So I had a job offer in Southern California almost right away.
Wow.
So I graduated in May and I was on the job in August. But it was an evidence tech first, and I kind of promoted up to fire investigator. And then, now here I am.
Well, how tough are those classes? Because let's be real here. We take fire service classes to get certain certifications, right? We call them they're firefighter classes. Mm-hmm. But what is that studying like? How was that schooling? Was it difficult, easy?
Honestly, for me, I would say it was easier than my gen eds.
Okay.
Because I liked it. I liked what I was doing, and it was very hands-on. So it's like, I don't know if you've ever been a part of CFEI training. Have they done any investigation stuff?
Sounds fancy. All I know is undetermined electrical.
Yeah.
That's about 50% of the cases right there.
Encapsulates every one of my reports.
That usually when I talk to someone on the public side, they're like, it's undetermined, but probably electrical. Usually, unless it's Scott. But
Scott's the man. Let's put that out there. Scott's the man.
Yeah. So we would do a lot of hands-on stuff. So they had these concrete cells, 12 by 12 cells. So instead of building them over and over again, they were just concrete, and they only had to build the inside. And we would do hands-on burns in school the last 2 years of my college degree.
Rad.
And then we also did one of my professors was a FBI bomb squad retiree.
Ooh,
so he would
awesome.
build IEDs and explode like cars and stuff. And then we had to do like real time explosives investigations too. It was really
no
fun.
way, really?
So it was difficult when we had to do like the paperwork side and the reports and the tests, but the hands-on stuff was so much fun. It just kept you right into it.
Okay, so where? I know they can't do this at the school. They can't blow up a car in the parking lot. Did they take you to an FBI site, or was it somewhere out in the middle of nowhere?
So you've never been to Kentucky?
No, man.
It's rural. So yes, we did do it at the college. It was
No
just
way.
you had to drive back into. You had to drive back into a field. So it was like maybe like a 5 to 7 minute drive back into this field area where we did our burns and our explosions. Yeah.
That's so rad. We do that here. Man, it'd be a nightmare.
So
Yeah.
Tim, the question was, what's the difference between fire and then her education? And because I've been
Public
both-
and private.
yeah, public and private, the
Yeah.
education. She comes out with a full bachelor's in science, and so it encompasses chemistry, all the stuff that we don't get on the public side, but we'll get it if we seek it, right?
Right.
So for investigation here, I can speak specifically to California. You need 120 hours of school to meet the minimum standard to be a fire investigator here in California. But you still don't have a degree. And it doesn't cover chemistry at the level that you would if you went to EKU, and we don't come out with a BS. So they're just very more technical, and where ours is kind of more on the job training.
Yeah.
So we're probably going to start a debate here, but I am always like, look, what I bring is, as a firefighter, I've been asked to deploy hose lines, and then as a captain, I've had to make decision where we deploy hose lines, because I have to understand where the fire's going, what it's doing in order to put it out, right? One of our old department things that I always remember is, where's the fire going to be in 5 minutes? So I got to put my hose line in there, knowing that it's going to take some time for it to get deployed. So I'm like, look, I bring the experience of firefighting and having to figure out where it's going to be, where yours has all been burned in a box. And then she'll say, what?
Okay, this isn't our biggest debate.
No, but let's debate this one first. So,
But okay, so this isn't our most interesting debate because I do agree to an extent of that. I don't agree with the people who are telling me that I wasn't as experienced, or I wasn't going to do as good of an investigation just because I hadn't been in a burning building.
100%. You're one of my favorite fire investigators.
And that was my biggest problem when I first started, because I was young and they were like, you've never done firefighting. You don't know.
Right.
And so I really had to prove myself in the first like 3 years, and having him as a mentor definitely helped, because he like spoke for my reputation too. Because I am good at my job and I really love my job. So that's not really a huge debate, because I agree on your level of what you say about it, but I don't agree on like some of the other guys' level.
I think it's just one of those things that's easy to dismiss, because you don't come from the suppression side of it, like the active suppression side, because like everything that Scott just listed, those are influences of what the damage or the behavior of the fire can dictate with what you're doing. So not having that background, or like when you've like literally been inside of places, it's easy to dismiss that. Like, yeah, you just don't know, you don't have the experience. But it's also like experience is subjective to a certain extent anyway, right? Because if you're, as an investigator, you're not in an active fire, unless you are, because which I don't know all the sides of it. So, but for the most part, it's interpretation of what you get when you get there, right? So it's like, yeah, we create a lot of water damage. That's what we do, or we used to pull all of everything off the walls to make it very, very difficult.
The departments still do. It's
yeah, but that used to be a thing. It was like you go in and we'd like race each other to see how much like drywall we can pull off the walls. You know what I mean? And then at the end, the investigator shows up and goes, "What the F, guys?" You're like, "Yeah, it's clean. It's not going to start again."
It's definitely a learning curve. So I would say to that point is the learning from the public side is in real time learning, and then we're in school watching the videos of it happening or learning the patterns after it's happened, and they're having to describe to us based off of their real-time experience why we're seeing what we're seeing. So that's kind of how the difference in experience was, is we didn't get to see the patterns form or why they were forming. We got explained why it was. And so I guess that's kind of...
But I'm not saying it makes you better than or less than. It's just we bring a different side of the experience to the investigation. But then I would argue the other side for your level of education is you've been like technically trained much deeper with much more depth and breadth of the technical aspect of how these are done. And so you will eventually get the experience. I mean, you're already getting experience, but I'm just saying it's just coming from two different ways. But
Right.
at the end, we're all looking at the same fire. So, but I know that's a big debate we have, although she said we have another one.
I was like, hold on, what's
Yeah,
the biggest
what's the
debate?
You
biggest-
know
that's
what
what
the
I really
biggest
wanna
debate is.
I don't.
Yes, you do.
Oh, dude.
The NAFI, the NAFI CFEI, and the IAAI CFI.
I don't really think that's a debate.
There's a
We
lot
have a
of
debate
acronyms
on
being
that.
thrown out right now. A lot
Okay,
of acronyms.
so
It doesn't even have to go into this
IEK.
podcast. We don't even have to waste time on it. So it's National Association of Fire Investigators, and then the IAAI is the International Association of Arson Investigators. And
Well, let's tell them what that's about. So when you're in the investigation field, your goal is to become a certified fire investigator. And what that means is you've been validated and tested by an outside third party to show that you've met a minimum standard, that you can answer a test, that you've done the training, and that you've met a minimum criteria. And in our world, our being the public side, at the department we currently work for, they want you to get that within the next couple of years because it's a lot of clout in court. Shows you've been evaluated.
Okay.
In the
did you
private
just say
world,
clout?
yeah.
I'm impressed. Okay, continue.
I have a couple 75-cent words in there.
Continue. Continue.
I'll break out the dollar word later. In the private world, though, you have to have a CFI, or the insurance companies won't look at you. So there's a couple ways. No, you have to have a CFI.
No, you don't. I didn't.
Well,
But continue. We have a debate on this. See?
yeah.
Continue though.
So there's levels of CFI. So for us, we have International Association of Firefighters.
Right,
That's
right.
something for us. We're all in, and probably a lot of your listeners, right?
Yeah.
For the fire investigator, we have International Association of
Arson investigators.
and they give you a CFI. And then there's another third party called National Association of Fire Investigators.
And there's a CFEI, so it's Certified Fire and Explosion Investigator.
So just to get to the point of the argument, 'cause unless you're in this, it's probably boring.
It doesn't really matter, yeah.
Yeah. I put IAAI currently above NAFI, and she does it.
No, I do. That's not the debate. The debate is that...
I don't know this debate.
Yes, you do.
I feel like I'm
We
at
used
home
to
with my
argue
wife.
about it.
I'm arguing about something I
Hey
don't
guys,
know.
I want to hear it.
Yeah.
What's the debate?
Well, here's what I'm seeing though is yes, you come from the private sector, it's public, but it seems like you both complement each other very well. It's like
Yeah.
you feed off each other. You're learning certain things because she has a degree, but you're learning things because he's on the fire side, has got the experience. I mean, you couldn't ask for something better personally.
The communication is very helpful, especially when I get them in Orange County. I
Yeah.
can call him or
Yeah.
Brad or somebody and be like,
Yeah.
hey, this is what I got. Can you give me anything? What's the incident number?
Yeah, and what a better mentor. How many years you got now, Scott?
Fire service?
Yeah.
I'm going to hit 30 years.
Oh, that's 30 years.
Are you
Man,
coming
you're
in
right
at
there,
The
dog.
big 3-0?
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
congratulations.
That's huge.
Yeah.
But think about, you're well respected in the fire service. You've done well with your career. You've worked through the ranks. And so people know you are a fire investigator. You're highly sought after and you're very good at what you do. So what better way to have a mentor than Scott, who's also very personable? I look back at my career. He was hard on me when I first started, but now looking back and seeing how well I've done, I see why he was so hard. I'm like, oh my, it's almost like your parent. You're like, I see my parents now and I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
Like when my dad used to shut the lights off in the house all the time. Like, what are you doing? Right now I have my own home. Like, dude, shut the lights off. You're going to pay these bills, man.
Yeah.
So you've done really well with your career. How did you get into fire investigating, or even why? What was the draw for you to do that?
Were you guys around when there was Bill Keene or Lou Kingman?
I remember those names,
Bill-
but they weren't on. They
Bill had just retired maybe a year or two before we had gotten hired.
Yeah, because I was just 6 months on before.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those two gentlemen were fire investigators.
Okay.
And Bill Keene was a good buddy of mine. And there was a fire investigator before that named Willie Dumas, who was very well respected in the industry. And so it's something I'm like, okay. And my other friend who worked for a local agency here, he became a fire investigator.
Okay.
But I'm like, well, I know more than this guy. Like, I could be doing this, right? So I'm like, maybe it's something I should look into.
Yeah.
So Bill Keane encouraged me. And at the time I was a paramedic. And at the time in our agency, you can only be a captain. So they said, look, we're not getting a lot of interest. We're going to open it up to everybody. So I put in and I was selected. But it was some kind of quasi, like they were the 2 day guys. And then I would just come in and help as needed, which was fine. And I lived in the city at the time.
Oh, right.
So
That's right.
it was super easy to go in. So that happened. And then we went through budget cuts. Bill retired. They gave away the 40-hour spot. So I wrote a program and we kind of called it Supprestigators. You're suppression, and then you shift to an investigator when you're done, right?
Supprestigators.
So,
That's the name of my punk band.
yeah. Well, a lot of this, I've taught a lot of students here in California, so I always break it in. There's full-time investigators, then there's supprestigators, which is the firefighter that turns into the investigator after the call, and then there's the inspectigator, the inspectors who also do investigation, and each one is unique in its own way. But that's how I got into it, and then we developed a program where when you guys came in, you could be level 1, level 2, and there's bonus tied to it.
Yeah.
And then that's what we did. So the thing about Chastity and I that we get along really well at, and you may have a touch of it too, is we have ADHD, and it's roaring. Your mind is never.
Were you pointing at me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes, you're correct.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, you're spot on with that one. Yeah. Absolutely.
So we've learned to connect through that. And my poor wife, she just tolerates us.
It's hilarious.
It is hilarious because we're just going a mile a minute. So you can never learn enough in this field. If you want to learn about solar panel fire, then you can go down if you want to learn about chimney fires or any fires,
Dryer vents,
anything. And there's a field unto itself. So this racing mind we both have you won't run out of material.
Yeah.
And then you can apply it to the job. So that's why I've stayed in it. So I'm one of the only older guys that stayed in this long.
Yeah. How long have you been in the investigating?
24 years.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah.
Man,
It's been a while.
That's a long time.
It's been a while.
What, getting into investigation, a lot of people know, you also are kind of like a peace officer, right? Because you have to go to court, you're armed at times, right?
Where you currently work,
Yeah.
we are sworn, So we have a firearm, we have to qualify, and I was just in court yesterday. So yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, I got to know here. When you had to go to your first court appearance, how stressful was that?
Well, I have to think back because remember, you've
done a lot over 20 years.
4 years ago.
Did it ever stand did you ever get caught in the stand like, I don't know?
Did you misspell something that got
There's
pulled
no
up?
way.
And we're like,
There's no
You're
way.
the expert, huh?
Yeah.
Really? You're such a perfectionist. I never would have expected.
Because I've gone to court. I say it's because I've gone to court once on a medic thing, right? Because there's some arrest. Anyways, it was a nightmare, dude. I got filleted. Because some of my spelling was off when we still had the writing the PCRs and everything.
Was this a deposition or actual? Were you in court?
No.
Was there a judge in the room?
Yes.
Oh, so okay, you're
It
in
was
court.
legit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was legit. It was stressful, dude.
And was it for a medical?
Yes.
And were you probably what they weren't going after you? You were probably a witness to something.
Yes, that's what it was.
That's usually the case.
Yeah, but they pulled up the PCR, dude, and some of my spelling was off. They're like, "What does that mark mean?" I'm like, "I don't know, dude." Dude, it was a nightmare. I left there so embarrassed.
Yeah.
I was just like, I
That's
feel
their goal.
like, yeah,
That's their
I
goal.
feel like I shouldn't be a medic anymore.
Like you
it's
come in
terrible.
as the specialist and you leave
Yeah.
going like, what am I doing?
Yeah, that's why I wonder, because I remember you were talking about you would go to court all the time, and I was thinking, dude, that's got to be stressful. That has to be a nightmare.
It's one of those. Well, you know me, so I like to argue, and you know my union.
You're very good at arguing.
Yeah. So I don't mind it, and it's one of those things like, I don't know if you remember when you're in school and the grades come out and you're like, oh man, this is not going to be good. I was always I'm like, oh, this is going to be good because I can show my parents that I've been working because I've worked hard.
Right.
So when I go to court, because I do put a lot of time and effort in my investigations, I'm like, bring it on, let's go. Do I get nervous? Yeah, you still get nervous, but it's going to be like, oh, did I not do the right spelling? But it's not on your determination of the origin and cause, which, that would win or lose the case.
So that's what I would think. That's my first thought.
Yeah. But I mean, dude, we have the one I just went in Friday, I'm looking, I'm like, oh, that's not how you spell that. You're like, oh man, I'm gonna get nailed on that. But that's just a reality, and everybody knows that. They can see past that.
Yeah.
But I don't really remember the first time I was in court. I remember the first time I was in trial, and it was just me and the judge, and it was a civil trial. So when we go to investigations, if you arrest somebody, it's going to be criminal.
Okay.
All right. So, but sometimes they'll do something that's an accidental fire. And then you'll go to what's called a deposition first. And it's usually like 8 attorneys. And they all want a piece of you, except for one, because one likes the way you worded it. The other 7 don't. That can last 9 hours, and there's no judge there to stop them from beating up on you.
9 hours.
It could be 9. Mine was 9 hours.
Oh,
and they're going through, but I prepared, and I'm like, okay, this is good. Well, they went to trial. So my first trial was with a civil case. Excuse me. So I remember, and it was a thermostat issue, and the people that lived there didn't know if the thermostat was working or not. They didn't understand how it worked. I remember some people don't understand the way we live. So I kept asking, like, well, did it go on? They go, we don't know what it's set, but we know when it gets cold, it goes on. I'm like, okay, so it was working. Do you know how to do it? We don't even know what this thing does. I'm like, okay. So I'm sitting in the stand. I'm sitting on the stand, and the judge is right here. And the guy's asking me, the attorney's like, was it working or not? I'm like, well, Your Honor, Counselor, I can't answer that because they didn't know or not. And so he kept trying to ask it, and finally the judge looks down on me because they sit higher than you, and it's designed that way to show who's running the court. And he goes, Investigator Kuhlman, did it work or not? I'm like, oh gosh. So I'm like, Your Honor, the best way I can answer that is that I'm going to say it worked, because it did go on when it was cold, and that's as much as they knew, but I'm not an expert on how thermostats operate or not. But yes, and he's like, okay, that's all we need. I'm like, okay. So that was my first, like, okay. But that was, you're nervous, but I mean.
I'm sure.
I imagine, yeah. Especially if it draws out, you go through the deposition, the build up in time, the angst of now you have to deliver in front of a group, you know what I mean? And depending on what you say, make or breaks whoever is involved, right? So there's a lot of moving pieces to those things. It's very interesting. I'm sorry, how do I phrase this? What is like the fire investigators like, or your guys, because I'm sure it varies from people to people, but like what's like your, oh my God, one day if I run this investigation, what scenario is that? Like what's like the Super Bowl of fire investigators call types? Like what would that be? Does that make sense when I said that?
I know what you're saying, but for me, because I'm on the public side, those fires are, if it's truly an intentionally set fire, let's get those persons, especially send harm or displace people. Those are the one, and then they stick, right? Mm-hmm. That you've done a good, thorough, and complete investigation, and that it moves forward, and the right outcome is done. There's no technical, like you technically didn't do this, or so those for me. Those are the ones currently. If I was on the private, I'd have a different one. I'm curious to see.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't pick one in particular. I think my favorite are the ones that we can, like, without a doubt, determine the cause. Those are exciting because a lot of the time they do come out undetermined with, like, potential causes, and then they go on and on and on. And sometimes the insurance company will cut you off before you get to the point. So I would say my favorite one ever, though, is, do you know which one I'm going to tell?
I don't.
I did a church fire.
Oh, yes, I do.
Oh,
it's so good.
Well, thank you, Jesus. You got a church fire?
Hallelujah.
Keep everyone's name out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't even remember the city it was in.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I was in the desert somewhere at a church fire, and the fire department had told me it was electrical. And so I go into the church and I do my thing, and I'm taking my photos and stuff, and I'm like staring where the origin is, and the electrical box is in the origin, the breaker panel, and I'm like staring at it. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. The patterns this doesn't make sense. So I start digging, and I mean, you guys don't always have a lot of time to dig to figure out if that is actually what it was.
Can I interject here?
Yeah, go ahead.
No investigator was called on that one. It was just the first in engine company, remember?
Are you sure?
That's what you had told me after we read the report, that the first in engine didn't alert the investigator because he thought it was electrical.
I don't remember that much.
That's the case.
I was just so excited.
Yeah. So
okay. Oftentimes,
if an engine company goes and they think it's electrical, there may be no need for the investigator to come out.
That's right.
So that was the case.
Yeah. So like,
Okay, I get it.
for example, they would, if they called Scott and was like, we think it's this, then
Yeah.
he wouldn't have to go out there. So I guess that's what happened on this one. I don't know. I don't remember that part.
Yeah.
But so I'm digging through the debris and I find this, like the window had broken and there's a perfect piece of window glass on the floor that had protected the carpet, which means the window had broken early in the fire. And I sent him a picture of it. I was like, oh my God.
I never would have thought to
Look
even
at this.
for that.
Could I just this is how nerdy we that's where we drive my wife.
No, I mean,
crazy.
it's excellent. It's rad.
She's in the middle of, I think I was teaching the class. She sends me this picture of a dirty floor, and then I can see the glass, and she shows me with the glass. I'm like, okay, tell me what that means.
He didn't respond fast enough. I called him.
Yeah.
I was like, hello.
So
Look at
impatient.
this.
She's like, well, okay. I'm like, I know what that means. What do you think it means? She's like, that means the window broke before the fire. So I'm like, yeah, me too. I agree with you. That's great.
Yeah.
So
okay. So the fire patterns like are clearly going to the breaker box, but there was some arcing in the area. So I'm like, deciding, and I keep digging, and I find 3 perfect Molotov cocktail tips
Really?
in the debris,
okay.
tips of them, and then I'm finding the remnants of the beer bottles and stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh. And so I call him, and he kind of like helps walk me through it because I had never had that instance happen to where I needed to give it back to someone, but nobody called me. So I still have the evidence to this day, and I'm going to keep it until, the 5 years is up, and then I'm going to put it in a shadow box.
Well, that's pretty.
gonna say.
That's excellent. Coming from a firefighter perspective, right? I never would have thought to even. I would see glass and I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking that way at all. I'm not trained to think that way.
Right.
I mean, that's ingenious to me. It was like,
Probably
hey,
been like, that's funny.
Yeah.
Out the window.
Well, in your defense,
Exactly.
Weird.
that's weird. No, in your defense though, they couldn't have seen that until they dug for a little bit because all the debris had fallen down. So, yeah.
Hey, I got to ask you guys, and I don't know how deep it's going to go, but I feel like it's kind of interesting being in that side of the community for fire investigation. But over the last year and a half, and this could be a more normal thing, but I've seemed to have seen a lot more stuff when they're talking about these massive agricultural fires where they have these big, whether they're grain industry or, I think one of them was an egg factory. Anyways, they're having these huge fires and these big businesses like this for agricultural food processing, things like that. Is there from your guys' end, I would imagine Hot Topic Tuesday, or whatever websites you subscribe to and things like that. Don't tell me that doesn't exist. I know for sure.
Hot Topic Wednesday, but you were close.
Or Wednesday. Yeah. You know what I mean? But
I have no idea.
really? There's not a thing for the well, on the suppression side, there's just they're training aids is all it is, but just if there's any consistencies with problems, this is nationwide that we'll receive some kind of information on it, whether it's, it's traffic collisions or highway safety or, you know what I mean? Just it could be obscure or it could be very general, but it's happening a lot.
I would say that's LinkedIn for us. I see a lot of stuff on LinkedIn.
Well, I would say it's IAAI sends out a periodical called Fire and Arson Investigator, and they'll anything nationwide or internationally known, like spontaneous combustion of hay or whatever.
Yeah.
They'll have an article. So you're like, oh, what's the science behind that? National Association of Fire Investigators. And then currently I'm the vice president of California Conference of Arson Investigators. That's a lot of acronyms.
A lot.
Look at our guy, dude.
If you're listening to that stuff. So we do training every 6 months, and we have live burns, and so we'll go through what are some of the hot topics or trending. Like right now, and you guys know, February of this year, I did a whole thing on lithium-ion battery fires because we're in the department we're working for almost once a day.
Oh, really?
We're getting a lithium-ion battery fire.
I believe that. I know it's been a huge problem at FDNY. That's been a big, big problem.
My last few investigations, a lot of them, I'd say out of the last 20, it has to be at least 10 to 12 of them were lithium-ion batteries. It's insane.
We're getting a lot of them, and now people are getting so comfortable with them that the last fire I had, I think it was 48 hours ago, they're starting to take them apart and try and put them together or fix them themselves. And the guy, this is his statement. He's like, yeah, my e-bike went bad. So I tried to put the batteries together, and he goes, I saw one row go off, then the next row go off, and it burnt my couch, and the sprinklers came on. But now we're starting to mess with them, and I don't even think we fully understand them right now. So
Yeah.
now the general public,
People should
Yeah.
not be messing with those batteries.
No.
Well, they're so. I mean, even when they burn off, they're so dangerous. That
Yes.
smoke is so bad for you, as we know.
Yeah.
I mean, we've retired people. Unfortunately, it's sad.
But that's true. I forgot. I mean, we're thinking the fire element, but the exposure to that smoke.
Oh, it's so bad.
Yeah.
So bad.
And just for people that aren't, that maybe aren't in the fire industry, the lithium ion, it could range from like lithium ion small batteries to massive car batteries,
E-cigs.
charged e-cigs, or like the e-bikes is a popular one because most people that bring the e-bike into their house, and I've been on a handful of these fires, so it's like, and it's like, well, where did it start? And they'll just have multiple rechargeable batteries like in their room right next to a pile of clothes and like all this stuff, and it's like, I would say it's a safe statement that most people take that safety for granted until something like this happens. But the problem is that, one, if it gets big enough or if it's a large enough battery pack, it's very difficult to put out. And, there's tons of examples with that, with like even the cars like Teslas, and not to name drop that company, but you know what I mean? Just a problem for our side of it, of one, making it safe for the people around, and two, being able to extinguish the problem, So it's just kind of this quandary of issues. That's my 75-cent word.
I'd say that's about $1 worth.
Yeah, quandary. I think I used it in the right context. But,
What a callback.
Yeah, but so it's just one of those things. It's like, hopefully it gets better. But the one thing that I think is consistent is that outsource marketing, and more things are going to have that. It's like they're not intrinsically built to the T. They're getting shipped over from pick a country, and it just doesn't, and then it happens. And then they go and you plug them in and you think, oh, they're good. And they've been sitting on the charger for 3 days, or they don't cycle them correctly. And, it's a problem that's going to keep, I think, happening.
And
for
it's
a
just
while.
like a ton of little things too, like using another charger for that thing just because it fits, that can cause it. Or
so
if
guilty of that.
if you're dropping things, like people just don't realize how dangerous they really are until it happens to them. And then it's like, because we see that stuff every day.
Well, here's something I learned. So when I did that lithium ion class, we did a live burn with it. We had them fail, right? And ATF had just come out with a really good study, and they showed video of it. And they'd show that once the battery, because we have two types of lithium ion batteries, right? We have the flat ones, the pouch ones that are in our phones. And then we have the cylindrical ones that we have in our drills, or a Tesla model car will use. And so those cylindrical ones, one side will blow out. Well, now it's a rocket, right?
Oh,
so,
wow.
So they'll go 60 to 100 feet.
What?
Yeah, they'll fly across the room, and ATF has a really good video of that. So we burnt one. I'm like, hey guys, you got to stand back like 60 feet. Sure enough, someone got a little closer, flew and hit him in the leg. And it's like, I'm like, dude, I told you 60 feet, bro. Like, what are you doing? But what I learned is that NFPA is currently writing a document about this. And it's changing so much that they're having a hard time keeping up and getting a document. But one of the guys on there told me, he goes, Scott, he goes, here's what we're learning. Like when they make these lithium ion batteries, there's an A grade and then there's like a B grade. So your higher end companies like Milwaukee, DeWalt, those ones, they tend to buy the A grade, and they have these chargers that are, they're fit for it. And they have safety cutoffs and all, it's all high end stuff. And well, do you think they just sit there and hold the B grade batteries? No. Some company will buy the B grade batteries, and then you can buy them on a popular website somewhere at a very discounted rate. And it doesn't necessarily, they're bad, but they don't have all the built-in safety features. And what I learned is one of the things that makes a lithium ion battery fail is when it goes to zero.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either. So
Only some of them though.
yeah, when our drills and stuff go, they say it's out. There's still some battery life in there with the intent that you're going to charge it and then bring it back up. Well, these other manufacturers that don't have the built-in things, they will go to zero, and that's a fail point. I never knew that till I took. So it's just crazy, all the stuff out there.
That's interesting.
Yeah, we could talk on and on and on about lithium ion
Yeah, this is its
batteries.
own show. I mean, by the way, you could go on lithium forever.
Yeah, all I know is like when we get them, I luckily I just drive now, but I try to stay away. Like I even my crew, it's like, dude, if this is going to be a lithium ion battery, like stay upwind, uphill. Let's freaking take a step back and take our time and figure it out. Unless, of course, there's a life safety issue. But it's like, again, we've had to retire people who had some years left to work that now they're done because it took in that smoke. It's like, is it worth it? That's why I always think, man, I'm like, dang, dude. Why?
Well, let's talk about life safety and batteries, because let's say someone was charging a vehicle and the plug was not the right. In every one of these, they say don't use an extension cord, right? If you're charging it, and you go in and you fight fire and the ceiling falls on you. What? Did that happen to someone in this room?
It completely knocked me out. I was gone.
The ceiling collapsed on him.
It was a vaulted ceiling too. Yeah, it was like the whole drywall had come in. I don't remember anything.
It knocked him out.
Dude, it cold clocked me. And mind you, like I was still healing from a TBI from like 2 years prior from a car accident. Long story short, I'm like, hey, cool. I'm driving, pumping, and I don't need to be inside. I'm like, well, we have 2 probationary firefighters. I'm going to go in. My captain had division. We're on the 2nd floor. And I remember I stepped into the master bedroom. It was vaulted. It was super high, like 12 feet or something, right? And I see the firefighters, they're doing their thing, and I always try to get pictures of them so they have for their, to look back on or whatever. So I remember pulling my phone out, took a couple pictures, put it away, done. That's it.
You don't remember
I don't remember anything.
That?
Yeah, and I wake up, my dudes are pulling me out. I remember kind of coming to and feeling people tugging on me, and I heard Mayday, 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 firefighter down. I was thinking, what idiot.
Idiot is down.
What moron? Like, come on, who's doing the Mayday, right? And then I was like, coming to, like, oh man, that's me. And so they started dragging me out. And then once they were dragging me, I really came to. And my first thought was,
Scott's gonna make fun of me.
Yeah, somebody's gonna get this on film of me being dragged out of a building. I'll never live it down. So I popped up and I just said, what happened? What's going on? They're like,
you just stood.
They're like,
stood
dude,
right
yeah,
up.
the ceiling roof came in or whatever. I was like, all right. And I ended up just walking down the stairs. It rung my bell hard. I had a pretty good concussion.
Wait, so, okay, I'm confused. It only came down, weren't there other people in the room?
There was a captain there, but when it fell, I guess I took the brunt of it and it knocked him to the side.
Oh.
So we were like on the opposite sides of the room. All of it came down and he was like pinned up against the wall.
Oof.
He said he was calling for my name, didn't, and they just saw my boots sticking out or whatever. So
That's terrifying.
It's like the Wicked
Wizard
Witch.
of Oz.
dude, well, yeah, but like drywall falling from that high and whatever else came. I never really saw what else came in, but like it flattened me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I don't want any part of that. I just don't want to be.
Well, and I'll say this: I've been tagged by a lot of drywall. Like,
yeah.
when you're not ready, whether it's dry or it's like waterlogged, either way, it's not comfortable. But when you don't know it's coming, I can only imagine, because like I've been lucky. I've been knocked down a couple times, but like it hit me like and pushed me forward, not like straight down on my head. And you're just like, oh shit, is anyone looking? You know what I mean? Like I got to get up.
Well, let's talk that drywall. So it came from the ceiling. So we know it's 5/8, which is, or I know that's because I'm the geek.
My man.
Yeah. So you pick one of those up. That's very heavy. Now get some distance, 12 feet to your head, which is about 5 feet. I don't know how to tell you. No, but that's getting some inertia.
Yeah.
That's going to clean your clock. It is going to knock you down.
Yeah, I was out.
And the
That's
cause of that
rough.
fire was a electric vehicle being charged.
Oh, is that what it was?
He used an extension cord, and so because his 240 outlet was inside a laundry room, and so it caused a fire inside the concealed space in the wall. It traveled up the wall, started getting into the attic.
Oh, wow.
And so that's why it weakened that. It came down. And,
Okay, see, that was ADHD right there. I was wondering how it was going to come back to the Tesla, because
I didn't say Tesla. I said an electric vehicle.
we did actually. We can cut that up.
Yeah,
But no, it started with that, but then you said, and you pointed at him, and then he just started with the story about drywall coming down on his head, and I was like, whoa, how did this?
He's good at coming full circle. He's very good at
That was
bringing
tied
stories
in.
back in.
I've literally been sitting here waiting for the circle around. But
Well, Scott, you actually brought up a pretty good point. And it was about doing investigations where people lose their homes or someone's burned or killed. I think a lot of people don't understand the different areas of the fire service that people can get into and do, whether it's inspections, fire investigating, or if you want to be on suppression side, right? You can go through firefighter, engineer, promote all the way up. But I think a lot of people don't understand the importance of fire investigation, because if my parents' house were to catch on fire or something happened and one were to pass away, I would want to know what the heck happened. What's going on? Was it arson? Was it an accident? Did something fail in the house? So like the importance of our fire investigators, private, public, getting the education and making sure you know your job, because I'm sure there are also, just like in any job, fire investigators who aren't that good at their job.
yes.
I would say,
She's like,
you've got A, B, and C.
Right.
People have passed the test, right? But here's what I'll tell you about that. I've been very fortunate to teach up and down the coast of California now for about 10 years, 13 years. I'm getting old. And all these investigators, they want to do a very good job. Like they're into it for the right reasons. They want to do it. They've got that inquisitive, you can see them. They're like, how did this start? I want to know. And if they're taught right, how to break down a problem, how to use a scientific method, how to go through the process, and they're shown right, then they usually do a good job because they're taught the right way, and they want to do a good job. They want it. But if they're not taught right, and if it's kind of, just say this or something, then they don't have that training, they're frustrated, and you don't get. So it's not their dedication. I think it's their level of training. Cause
It's definitely who taught them and how they're taught, for sure.
because you can't get into this work and be late. I mean, so every call I go on, if the captain doesn't take it, I'm writing a 6 to 10 page report. It's so, and what do
That's how long they're supposed
we
to
all
be.
went into the fire service, right? No, not you. Yours is one paragraph.
Okay, cool. Because that's where it's going. We need to talk after this.
But if I take it from you,
Yeah.
it's a 6 to 8 page report because I'm held to such a bigger standard of what I have to document and show that I did.
Okay. So that makes total sense because there's you have to. I'm sure you learned about this in college. I know you know, but I can't remember his name. He worked for Glendale Fire. Do you remember
John Orr.
Yeah.
In the 90s, right? Was it the 90s?
Yeah.
The best investigator ever.
Yeah.
I thought about John Orr when because Jordan was talking about, hey, hot topics, right? Because I remember watching a documentary and they couldn't figure out like where are all these huge fires coming from and how are we getting such good video? What's going on here? And long and behold, it was a fire investigator, and this guy was teaching.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
No,
I'm just kidding, dude. He'd come out of the woods with a cigarette butt and he'd be like, this was it. I got it.
You're not wrong.
No, I know. I read the...
You are not wrong. So the funny thing about that is,
And I say this is not to say like fire investigators are bad, but that's
No,
one that stuck
yeah.
out to me where it's like they couldn't figure out, and long and behold, this dude who's got great video, he's always figuring out, he's sought after, he's teaching.
Well, right, because he was very prestigious in the field. Right?
Yeah.
where
He
it
had
led
created himself as a prestigious person.
That's the best way to put
because
it.
of
Okay.
he was starting it, and then
to... So you want to be
finding
good, but
it.
don't be too good consistently?
Exactly.
Or people are going to start being like,
Scott.
well, if you can walk into a brush fire and walk right to your area of origin and find the thing, I mean,
that quick.
honestly,
oh
you
my
guys,
gosh.
that's hours of dig out and of trying to exactly find out where you're. So in the wildland world, you have a general area of origin, and then from there you find a specific origin area. That takes a while, and then to find what started it within there takes. So if you're just walking up and you're like, that's kind of a clue, something's going on here. But that train, so I'm associated with California Conference of Arson Investigators.
Yeah.
And so John Orr would go to that, and he was pretty prestigious in that because he was able to find the source of the fire pretty rapidly and consistently.
Yeah,
Which
like, this
is-
guy's great.
Yeah, we have a lot of undetermineds. So, and that's not a bad thing. That just means I don't have enough information at this time.
Yeah.
So, he would go to a lot of our trainings, and at that time they were held in Fresno. And so he would start fires in Fresno when he was at the conference.
That's crazy.
And we have, but he's in jail now, and he's in communication with some of our board members, and he wants to speak and say why he's innocent, by the way.
Oh, get
No
out
way.
of here.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Okay, that's
we're not
interesting.
really entertaining that. We don't want to give him a platform,
For
but
sure.
yeah, I mean, that's,
I think it would be so
I'm surprised
sick.
you knew that. 'Cause
Oh yeah, it stuck out to me. I remember it was some documentary. I don't know where I watched it, but it stuck out to me a lot because the videos were so good.
Yeah.
There's really good video, but he was videoing. It was coming from him, I believe. I think on some of them.
I don't know that.
I can't remember.
I've never
seen what you're
a
talking
documentary.
about. Because
I've listened to the podcast. I've not seen the documentary.
The videos would show like it would be after the fire gets going and he would happen to be in the area and videotaping it. So it'd be like, but this is like more than the start. Like this thing's
Yeah.
ripping. And, and then it'd be like he would be the investigator. And then it would take a
Yeah.
very short amount of time for him to find it. Which,
Well, I mean, not to mention the in-depth book he wrote about all of it. Like,
He just gave himself
but he's
away.
innocent.
he was just sloppy,
Come
I guess,
on.
at it.
No, he actually wrote a book, and it detailed everything he did, but he was naming it something else.
Yeah.
And then another weird thing is that the treasurer that I currently work with, Dennis, was his partner.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I told him, I'm like, look, Dennis, I would love to get you on stage or on a podcast. We need to capture your experience. He's a really cool guy. He's a little older than me by a lot. And he's a super cool dude, but he's like, yeah, he's my partner. But he doesn't really ever like talk about it. I mean,
You can't control that. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, it's a black mark on the fire service, right? I mean, I'm sure the investigation world took a huge hit after it came out and he was convicted, right? Yes and no, maybe.
I mean, once again, I got in 99. So, but that didn't really reflect what we were about. But anytime, I mean, look, the only thing we have is the public trust, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know what agencies you worked for and what you work for. And I know the agency we came from, we never wanted to break that public trust. I mean, we had a love affair with our citizens, with our council, and we love to protect our citizens there. And it was a hard choice for us to leave, but we knew that we could not protect the citizens the way they needed to be after a while. And so transitioning over to a bigger department was better for us. And I think we still are guys, and I'm not saying the other agency done, but I know from you guys, I think we still bring that forward to the people that we serve.
Yeah.
I mean, I still love going on calls and working with our citizens, and I make sure they have a blanket. I just love that, because what if that was my mom, dad, or if you were on duty and it was your family? I want to make sure they were taken care of. Your kids were born with your wife. I mean, that's just, So did we take a hit? Maybe more from other firefighters.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what'd you just start it? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just remember that John Ort thing stuck out to me so much. I was like, dude, what? One of our own was doing that? That's crazy, dude.
Yeah. It definitely hurts.
well, there happens to be crazy people in every field.
I mean,
of
any
practice,
industry
you
you're
know.
in, it's going to be that way.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Got a unique story.
Now, you two, are you, maybe we could talk about this, but aren't you starting your own private company, doing investigations?
No, she's currently working for a private, and then I'm still with public. We've talked about it, but it's probably something out in the future.
To be determined.
Yeah. I mean, just because we enjoy working with each other, and we're always consulting back and forth.
Yeah.
But I mean, this year, like I said, so currently I'm VP, I'll be president this year. Oh,
Whoa!
Yeah.
What the heck?
so the big interesting thing, and I don't think,
Dude, we need to step our game up.
yeah.
I meant of the United States. I'll be president of the,
I'll honestly vote for you.
Yeah.
There we go. Done.
for California Conference of Arts Investigator. Big honor. I love bringing the training, but the bigger thing, and you know this, is that I'll be going to Cambodia in February.
Dude, huge. That's huge.
Yes. So the government there's a nonprofit called Love in Action, and they work closely with the Cambodian government. And they've been working with them for 12 years. Specifically, been working in the Southeast for about 27 years. And the government wants, their number one ask from their fire department is they want an arson investigation program. And then they'll want like heavy rescue training, things like that. So they reached out to Firefighters for Christ, and then they sent a mass email out. It landed on my desk in my department. So me and there's a officer embedded in our section, and we teach all around California. So it said, we're looking for 2 investigators with law enforcement experience, blah, blah, blah. So I just went into his room. I'm like, hey, dude, if this doesn't cry out to you, like, this is what we do. We love it. And so it's a volunteer. So we're going to pay our way out there. We're going to go out there for about 10 days. We're setting up a curriculum now, but what a cool opportunity where fire investigations can take me across the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Dude.
To help out. And I mean, I'm just like, how cool is this?
Well,
What's
what's cool
be
about
so awesome. Well, one, congratulations. And
Yeah.
2, like you like everything that you said. What a unique opportunity it is to go do that, and it's in a field that you love and you're clearly passionate about it. And now you're basically writing the program that these organizations or people are going to be interpreting in their field. So that's it's like an honor, and you got to be pretty stoked.
Yeah, I mean, it's just cool, and I hope that we can foster a relationship with our departments so that more specialties we have can be shared with, because they really want to do well. So it's just a cool thing.
Well, it's cool because you've got plenty of time on here, and the reality is, right, our work and what we do is serving people. We probably won't know until the day we die the amount of lives that we've affected, right? Help, save, whatever it may be. And they can go on and help other people and change lives. But to be able to take that and now go to a different country and start something there, you don't know what's going to happen with those investigators and fires they solve and lives they affect. I mean, it's that ripple effect that we talk about on here all the time, right? You throw that rock in a lake, right? Boom, it hits and just keeps rippling out. I mean, it's huge. That's you're giving back in so many different ways. So, dude, that's I think that's pretty powerful. It's pretty right on.
And the fact that they ask for it, so they want it.
Yeah.
And even though they're not going to speak the same language, so we're going to have to work through that.
That was my next question. I was like, what do they speak in Canada?
They're assigning us both, my partner Justin Russell and I, interpreters. But so I was telling them, like, so what I like to do at the end of the class, I like to build the burn cells. And they're like, okay, what do you need? I'm like, I need this much lumber. I need 12 pieces of drywall per burn cell. And they're like, I don't know if they have drywall out there. So I'm like,
Oh no!
So so I don't know what I'm walking
Figuring
into.
it out as you go.
Yeah.
So people know and can understand what you're saying. What's a burn cell?
So to demonstrate certain types of fires, fire development, growth, the dynamics, you'll spend a week learning through the eyes of an investigator, not through suppression, how it's going, what fire effects is it leaving, all this stuff. And at the end of the class, let's say Jordan and Tim, you guys are taking the class. You're group 1, you're group 2.
Yeah.
Jordan, you'll go out, you'll have a burn cell. And basically it's an 8 foot by 8 foot deep and maybe 12 feet wide. And I put furniture and carpet and drywall in there.
Okay.
And then I let Jordan and his group, you burn it wherever you want. I make you predict the burn pattern, where you think it's going to do. You're going to spray paint on the wall, and then you burn it. And then we watch it develop, and then we see if you're right, and I film it. And then you leave and go to lunch. And then Tim, you guys come, you do the burn cell next to it. You do the whole thing, you go to lunch. I come back, Jordan, you're going to go investigate Tim's burn cell. You're going to go do Jordan's burn cell. And then you have to write a report on where you think it started. At the end of the class, I show you the videos, and you're either right or wrong, and usually you're right. So
that's rad.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what it is. So the burn cell, it looks like a living room or a bedroom or something, right? You're staging.
It's just missing the one wall so that you can watch the fire development. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
that's a good way to learn, man.
That's
That's smart. Is that something you created, or
No.
that's kind of been part of the process for all investigators?
I did it at ATF. I learned it at the National Fire Academy.
Oh, we did it in school, but I don't know who started it though.
Yeah, I don't know where it came
That's
from.
pretty rad. That's smart.
That's awesome.
Now, your curriculum for Cambodia, you're going to have to write all that.
So no, California has a curriculum based on a document it's called NFPA 1033. It's the standard to be a fire investigator. So since it's NFPA, which means National Fire, I don't know if Cambodia accepts that or not. I don't even know if they have building codes, but I helped the state, me and 14 other people, we wrote the curriculum based around that document.
Okay.
And so it comes to 3 classes, 3 40-hour classes. So when you're done, you've met every one of the job performance requirements to be an investigator anywhere in the nation. So I'm going to take that and try and adapt it and thin it out because they don't speak English. It's a little bit of a, we'll see how it comes out.
I'm sure. Well, yeah. I mean, just like with anything, the unknown in this is a lot more,
Yes.
right? And not the information you're bringing, but your delivery to this group of people, because you don't know. Are they like day 1 people? Are they?
They're day 1. I've been told they're day 1 people.
Okay, so just someone who maybe has the interest of it, which is also great, depending on the translators and your ability through the. You know what I mean? Like, either way, it's a great thing. And to have that, if they're really trying to push for a better program via their fire department, then this is a key component of it.
Yeah, I really have an American sense of humor, so I'm really nervous. Like, I have that snarky, sarcastic kind of like,
You'll
He
know 'cause-
really feeds off the crowd with like his jokes at the
Yes,
end. So he's
yeah.
going to be like, do they think I'm funny?
Well, you're a people
or-
person.
So you need
Dude.
to Google best Cambodian joke. Learn like a short one, like a one-liner. Learn that. Open the class with that.
I wonder what is their language? Do you know?
How about like, that's what she said in Cambodia.
No,
You think they'll
dude.
get that?
Oh,
They might.
That's got to translate
Maybe.
through everyone, right?
I would say that's a safe one.
Michael
and I
Scott.
would laugh. Yeah, it's my favorite.
Well, since they're, you're able to get involved with Cambodia now, this might be different from private to public side, but say there's some major fire that's, in Florida, and they're like, hey, we need someone who's got good expertise. Can they actually call both of you out to go out there?
No, so who would cover that would be ATF, and they'll have an NR team, the National Response Team.
Okay.
And in our section for the department we work for, We have an ATF. He has the dog.
Okay.
And so he can be called out at any time and respond anywhere in the nation, and probably even outside the nation. I don't know what their contract
I
is.
didn't know that.
And you'll be gone for 14 days. And they are amazing.
Okay.
They come in, they do everything, and then when they're done, they give you a CD of everything they did. Nice, clean forms, and all the tools they bought, they leave them. They're like, this is for your department. We don't want to take it back.
Wow.
Yeah, they're amazing.
On the private side, if you have a company that likes you and wants you to go to other states for them,
Yeah.
you can if your company's licensed in those states. And then I've known investigators that have went international as well.
So how does that look for you then on private side? Like Scott was saying, if he, the person that works for ATF has a dog, they go for 2 weeks. Is that the same for you, or is it when the job's done?
It's when the job's done. So I went to Hawaii. That's a good example.
Tough life.
It was so bad. It was terrible. But we were just there for 3 days, I think, for the job, and then it was done. But if it would have came back to like a joint exam, then I would have had to go back out there, like that whole thing. But it's not as extensive.
Like
as,
recently? Like in Maui?
like 2 years ago. No, it wasn't Maui.
Oh,
Because
man,
I was like, I don't know what you're allowed to talk about, but if you could talk about any of it.
yeah, that would have been
How come
really
nothing
cool.
blue burned?
Gosh,
Did
I
you
know.
determine the laser in the sky?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love those
Yeah.
conspiracies.
No,
It's so
I went
good.
to Lanai.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's next to Maui, but
Okay.
But that's cool. I mean, and with the private side of it, it seems more like the reason there would be a private side of it, right, is like working, like I'm assuming it's through, and we don't name anything specific, but like insurance companies, things like that, right, that need to take a further in-depth look, because I'm assuming, outside of, not saying a house isn't worth a lot, but, you start getting these commercial buildings, big businesses and stuff, that kind of bringing me back to the agricultural thing there earlier.
Oh, I
You never
forgot.
answered any of that, by the way.
I forgot
Just
about
throwing it
that.
out there. But, is that's kind of the premise of...
So for the most part, even with residential, they just want their money back if they can. So subrogation comes into that.
Explain
And
subrogation. to
Big words.
That's what I'm about to explain.
That's $1. That's $1.50 word.
$1.50. Sorry. So subrogation. So technically, basically, the insurance company wants to go after anyone they can to get their money back. So like say a lamp failed and we know that lamp failed and started the fire, then they would put that manufacturer on notice, and then we'd have a joint exam and they would argue whether or not it was a manufacturing error, and then the insurance company would get their money from that manufacturer if they won.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, so that...
I didn't know
That's.
that.
I mean, I don't know. It seems very stressful.
Yeah.
It's really not. So the insurance company will make you whole. So Jordan, you get a fire, whatever terms you've agreed or what insurance you buy, the insurance company will, okay, you had a fire, I'm going to make you whole based on whatever you bought. The insurance company has the ability to go after someone who started the fire. So let's say it was lamp. Then they're like, look, we're just going to pay you out, but it's not your fault. And it's not our fault, the insurance company. So we're going to try and go and get our money back, or at least part of it, to keep our insurance rates low and
Right.
to keep that.
I see.
So it's called subrogation.
yeah, so that's why we go way more in depth with our investigations on the private side, because we're eliminating all possible causes within an area of origin, and you have to really be able to eliminate them, or they're coming to a lab and we're figuring it out that way with like an electrical engineer or something like that. Yeah.
Well, you guys got a lot of brain power in this room. I'm like, jeez, I don't want to go through any of that.
Just push buttons and read
Yeah.
the screen.
Hey, where am I going? Where's my water
make a
supply?
left.
That's all I care about.
Make a left up here.
Yeah. Well, one last thing I do want to ask you. So, in the fire investigation world, it after everything both of you have told us, it's very in depth. It does take brain power, and both of you are very skilled at what you do. What is like the most stressful part and toughest part of being an investigator?
I'll let you take that one first.
From the public side, so obviously the criminality of it, and then making sure that it is arson, and we never ever want to put someone in jail, take away someone's civil liberties that didn't start a fire. So you're always constantly running through your scientific method. Did I eliminate this? Did I eliminate that? And then once you're sure, and then you find out, okay, I did good. So the biggest fear is you don't ever want to take away someone's civil liberties incorrectly.
Yeah.
And the more we're trained, the better we are at this. I do work closely with an attorney from the Innocence Project, who she does post conviction. So let's say Tim, you get arrested for arson, but it was a faulty science, or maybe it wasn't done right, she would come in afterwards and take your case and show how it wasn't done correctly. So working with the Innocence Project and seeing how some of these cases weren't correctly done, basically because we weren't trained correctly or there was some bad science applied, you learn those things. And the other thing, and honestly that's hard, is now that I'm a little older, any call after 8 o'clock at night.
I'm right there with you.
No kidding.
That's very stressful. Oh,
yeah.
Bro, it's rough.
so stressful.
So were you guys fans of the show CSI?
I mean, I've watched it.
Okay, but that wasn't like, maybe
I
more so
didn't
because you were
binge
already
watch
in the biz prior to, but out of curiosity of what intrigued that, the move. And I know we talked about, when you were in college to make the move towards investigation or arson investigation, or no, fire investigation. Thank you very much. I was just trying to be funny. Wasn't.
How's that land for you, buddy?
Honestly, hopefully better than that's what she said in Cambodia.
That would be my Cambodia.
Yeah. Oh, what about for the private side? It seems like you've been traveling, doing a lot, but what's the most difficult part being in the private sector doing fire investigation?
Yeah, I think just from being like empathic, it's kind of tough seeing if the people are there, how stressed they are about everything. Because they start asking me questions like I'm their adjuster. And I'm like, I can't do anything for you. I'm just here for origin and cause.
Yeah.
And that's kind of rough. I mean, I can like suggest that they reach out to Red Cross, like stuff like that, but I can't really do anything for them. So that's pretty stressful. But other than that, I would say just like not letting the client down is kind of a little stressful.
I can see that.
As far as like,
I see that.
sometimes it's absolutely undetermined, and I don't have like the ego of like I need to get a cause. It's not undetermined, blah blah blah. But sometimes the stress coming from the client is a little stressful. But I refuse to pick a cause just to pick a cause because they want it.
Right.
So.
Right.
Do you guys ever get like fraudulent statement stuff, like a lot, like where you're like, oh, my house burned down, you're like, I had like 150 grand in the back, and then it's like, oh, it must be gone. If this is something you're not supposed to talk about, please
there's
don't.
there's a recent one
because I always joke around with like, I'm like, if someone steals my car, I'd be like, oh, I always carry 50 in the back of my truck.
Well, there was a recent one we both
always
heard about. Like I was on the private side, and he knows from the public side that was something kind of in that boat.
If the question stopped at, do you get fraudulent statements?
Let's
you
go
stop there.
Yeah.
Yes, daily. Because I'm an investigator, and and once because I wear that 7-star badge, and so they like, oh, you look like a cop. They still treat us very nice though, because then I have my helmet on. So the other thing that's really interesting is the way we get treated. One good story is we had some juveniles setting off some Christmas trees one year. And so the cops are like, hey, we have the guy, here's his house. So we go to the house, and the cops are like, yeah, this is the kid. So I walk up with all my we have the
regalia.
Yeah, but I have the helmet and my boots on. And I'm like, hey, dude, with the fire. He goes, hey, what's up? I'm like, hey, let me see your phone. So he gives me the phone. The cops look at me like, what? Meanwhile, this kid's telling the cops to F off, right? And I go, what's your code? He goes, dude, I go, all right. I go, is it in photos or is it in videos? He goes, videos. I go, which one's you? He goes, I'm the one over there. I'm like, all right, dude. I go, can you airdrop to him? He goes, sure. So the cop's like, what? I'm like, well, you got to treat him nice. Plus, I'm a fire guy. And I'm like, hey, dude, so look, we have a program. It's called Fire Friends. We're not going to, we're going to press charges, but we've got to correct your behavior. He's like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So it's just, we are treated different, and we never want to lose that. Right.
Oh, yeah.
We never want to lose that, guys.
Very important.
Yeah. The trust and respect for the public is just so important.
We get the 5-finger wave, and the cops get the 1 finger wave.
My God, no.
Yeah. and I feel bad for them because they're all super good, but it's just the way it is right now.
I feel you, man. Well, hey, you guys.
There's bad ones in every field. There's bad fire investigators, there's bad firefighters, and there's bad police.
What are you talking about?
There's bad everywhere.
John Orr was a fluke, okay?
Yeah.
Fluke.
Yeah, we're all amazing, man. But both of you guys, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Honestly, it's great to have both of you on here and talking about fire investigations, because that's such a unsung heroes of the fire service. Let's be real. People don't really understand that part. They see us in the shiny red engines riding around, right? So what you do is so important, and the education, the time. And Scott, you've been doing it for so long. Like, my man. Well done, my dude. You've been doing it a long time.
And stop saying you're so old, dude. You look great.
I know.
You don't have any gray hair.
I've been doing it since the 1900s, guys.
Yeah.
let's just put it in perspective.
Fire was invented.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also, Scott, so dude, it's been such a cool thing to see you promote and go through the ranks and what you've been doing in the fire service. And I've honestly appreciated you through the entire career, man. You've inspired me in many different ways, and you've encouraged me in many different ways to be who I am. So I've always wanted to tell you that. I just want you to know, dude, like, well done, my dude.
Yeah,
appreciate you.
Great.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Congrats on everything. And yeah, just I think the cool part about this too is like for anyone who's listening that does have interest in the fire service, like suppression isn't the only thing. You know, like there's avenues of circulating around whatever your interest may be, because there are people that can't be firefighters like in that way on the suppression side, but it doesn't mean you're hindered by that, you know. And very good example of coming from the private side, gaining the education and experience, and now you're crushing it, and that's fantastic. Hopefully you guys work something out after you're done with your career at the moment. But and congratulations on the Cambodia thing, man. Good, best of luck.
Yeah,
can't wait to hear about.
Maybe I'll come back and we can share. I think it'd be a great thing. I'll bring some.
That'd be a sick story.
Maybe we can pull it up or something.
Yeah.
This is me here.
Yeah.
I was right here.
So here I am eating fried banana.
Yeah. No, that would be honestly it'd be really cool to have you back on once that's done and wrapped up, and just talk about, because that's gonna be a heck of an experience.
Maybe I'll bring Justin with me if you don't mind.
Yeah,
that would be a really good one.
Man.
Yeah.
You guys, both of you, welcome on here anytime. It was a pleasure having both of you on here. We usually do a let's go on 3. And by the way, before we do this, I do have challenge coins for both of you. I don't want to forget to.
I have a challenge coin holder. I'm so excited.
Yes, I gotta give it. We give that only to our guests. So you see them out there. It's because they've been on the podcast.
Yay.
But anyways, let's go on 3. You guys ready? Let's do it. 1, 2, 3.
Let's go.
Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for listening in. If you liked what you just listened to, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Please follow us on YouTube, on Instagram, and on Facebook. And a big shout out to Stephen Clark, our sound editor. He's a huge part of this team that is unseen. It's 89 Barbers, our first sponsor. Look good, feel good, be great. That's 2 locations, Orange, California, and Long Beach, California. Book your appointment online, 89barbers.com. Bye, everybody.